It's not a comedy yet.
Needing no introduction can go either way. So,
And in typical style, we are going to tag team this, like we tag team NASSP. It's a real honor, actually, to be given the closing of this unbelievable conference. It has been one of the most inspiring conferences I think I've ever been to in my life. I keep feeling like I'm on an amazing holiday. It's so amazing seeing talk after talk just outdoing the one before. You know, it's not a competition. They were all brilliant. And it just, you know, sitting here reminded me, you know, I've also got a rather weird and interesting convoluted career path, but I actually left after honors, after doing physics honors, went into strategy consulting, and then came back to physics. And I just started my physics master's when I heard about this amazing program called NASSP that was about to start. And oh boy, was I jealous of the students who were about to embark on that program. Never thought in a million years how I would link to that, 20 years down the line. So it's funny how things seem to come full circle. But I'm going to hand over to Saalih now.
Yeah, I think for me it's even more amazing to be here, not actually being an astronomer. And so I have to look at Patricia. Anybody who's ever been, what's a polite word? Anybody who's ever been arm twisted by Patricia will know that. But now if you get arm twisted by Patricia and Tebe, it's like a sort of, those anvils that close in on you. I would like to say that I saw all of this, but I didn't, and then they dragged me kicking and screaming into all of this in 2008. And I have to say, for me, it's been one of the most amazing parts of my life. I mean, and I'm too scared to escape. I mean, I'm supposed to be retired, but I have to say this, because I think in the talk just before this, there was a picture of you with black hair, and now it's white, and so I just have to say that. So anyway,
you had quite black hair yourself.
Oh, that's true. Some of those pictures are a little alarming. So, so I just want to say, we've heard some of the most amazing inspirational stories that I have ever sat through over a period. It's unbelievable. And they were told with passion and commitment and enthusiasm. And I think the stories of people, the trajectories that people actually followed and the hardships and the challenges that people had to overcome. I mean, if this was a conference, sort of on motivational sort of aspects, I mean, that would fit the bill, but yet it's an underlying theme for some of the most amazing science that's actually been told as well. And it's also interesting, I just sort of took for so many people on this journey, there were so many firsts, okay? It was like, it was the first time to come to Cape Town, the first time to be on a plane, the first time to go overseas, the first time, and for many people, it was also, I think for a large percentage of students, the first time anybody in the family had actually gone to postgrad study. I think it's quite amazing. And I think the challenges of that, I think, could only be overcome due to the flexibility of NASSP. There's no way that you can actually have people tell stories like that and try to have them succeed if you actually stick to the normal strictures that are often imposed upon us. So I think that's one of the strengths. So I think there are two themes I just want to pick up on. I think the first one is, if anybody came and just sat through and wondered what all of this was about, the first thing they would see is diversity. I mean, there's absolute amazing diversity. It's diversity of the participants, right? I mean, from all walks of life, it's just quite extraordinary. The second thing was, the diversity of practices and the geographical diversity. I mean, I have to admit, to see those pictures of sort of people lighting up little NASSPs all over the world is like quite extraordinary. And I think that diversity, is something which comes almost with a family. So I think it's always a little bit scary to introduce terms like that, but I think one can really talk of the NASSP family. And, if one wants to push it a bit further, I think you can even see that intergenerational aspect of the family, where the sort of one crowd teaching the next, and one wonders, is there going to be sort of the grand sort of parents of that? Okay. Like, when I was teaching, I was reminded of my own teaching in first year when when Given spoke about that, and I remember at that stage someone came up to me and said, "Oh, my mother sends you her regards when she was at university with you," and I thought, wow, that's a little bit, but that wasn't as bad as the fact that not too long after that someone came up to you and said, "Oh, my grandfather sends you his regards." So, and I think that though, as a dynamic feature of NASSP, I think is quite amazing. So, and all these family members just all over the world, all of us. But one of the things I think that stood out for me was, I do not think NASSP would be the same if it did not have the international flavor that it did. I mean, can one imagine what this would have been like if we had a set of talks that were located only in the Western Cape or in the provinces? But I think that the amazing part of it is just that remarkable spread across the globe. And I think that we must not lose. And I think that is something that's a challenge to NASSP in the last few years. It's a big challenge, and I think we do need to put our minds to that to try to overcome the funding aspects that allow people from Africa in particular and all over the world to join this the community. The second theme, I think, is the one of collaboration and cooperation at all various levels. There was not enough time to tell the story of the post-grad bridging program, but if one told that story, it's remarkable the amount of cooperation that was needed and collaboration at all the levels. It needed the deputy registrar, it needed the deans, it needed the teaching staff, it needed, if you look at all those things, all of those things had to work together. And I think that for me, I was quite amazed that it came together at all. So I think in that respect, I think I start to think of the whole enterprise as sort of the metaphor of an orchestra, right? I mean, there are all these different players. There's a string section. I don't know if all the younger people know what an orchestra is. Maybe I can think of a band, okay? But if you have an orchestra, you have all these different sections, and then you make music out of that, right? No person is the music. Not even that person who waves their arms around at the front, okay? Because it requires a collective effort. And I think that really is the metaphor for me that I can see fits NASSP. There are people at all these levels, many systems. I think if you just think of the different systems that you need, you need an administrative system, a financial system, logistics system, a teaching system. There are all these things that happen in the background. All have to come together. And I think that, again, I'd like to say that I don't think these things could have come together without actually transcending the boundaries of what are often imposed upon us in academia. So I think I'll stop at that one and then leave Sarah to say something more.
I haven't had much left to me, but no, I'll repeat a little bit about what Saalih said, because, just speaking to people over the last couple of days and at dinner last night, it's unbelievably impressive to see where our NASSPs have gone, where they've landed up, whether it's contributing in extremely meaningful ways to our economy, to our society, or to science globally. It's really, it's exciting, and it's quite moving, actually. Also, when you look at the original vision and the fact that NASSP was started back in 2003, when SALT was just, going to come online, and the worry was, well, who's going to use this amazing instrument? And now you see pictures where the SALT operators and the SALT astronomers are NASSPs. And you see the people who are using the telescope are NASSPs. And you see the people on the time allocation committees are NASSP graduates. NASSP has really created an amazing science community in South Africa and more broadly. And I think it's amazing. Collaboration has come up a lot over the last few days, and as Saalih started to allude to, sometimes the structural issues between universities make collaborating quite difficult. And I think, especially going forward now with NASSP, having this great excitement at the 20-year anniversary, renewing all this excitement, seeing everybody, seeing where they are, I think, as Renee was saying as well, it's really time to capitalize on our network and try to really use our excitement to overcome these barriers that are sometimes just structural, that we can get through in exciting and innovative ways so that we can collaborate more easily, especially across the universities and across the facilities and institutions that contribute to NASSP. I think also very importantly, something that Saalih also alluded to is the importance of not just South Africa being part of NASSP, but our African partner country NASSPs as well, and finding ways to fund students to come back to NASSP from other African countries is really important, and it's been so exciting to see how the groups are growing in other countries on our continent as well. So I think I'm going to move on to some thank yous. Unfortunately, we can't thank everybody by name who has contributed to this unbelievable program over the past 20 years, but that's what the book will be for, so stay tuned for later in the year. But first, I think to every single amazing NASSP student, the celebration has been about you all and what you have done and what you have achieved. So congratulations. Then thank you to everybody for coming, and thank you to everybody for joining online. And then I'd like to make some special thanks. We're going to name some people and some institutions by name, and I'm very sorry if we do leave anybody out. It's completely inadvertent, and Saalih, you can try to remind me if we have. So firstly, Patricia, your vision for NASSP and your activism really got everything started. Thank you, Patricia. And then Peter, for your decade and a bit of steering the ship. To Kurt, who followed Peter and was part of establishing the 3 nodes. To Tebe, from the outset, your contributions, and in particular to the winter school and the bridging program. And of course, Ramatolo as well, for your contributions to that. Thank you very, very much. To the early funders, the Ford Foundation, the Cannons Collins Trust, UCT, NRF, SAO, Heart RAO, and the DSI, of course, for your long-term vision and your support of the program over the past years. And in particular, of course, we'd like to thank Takalani Namongani and the DDG Imran Patel. And thank you for coming to celebrate with us over the past 2 days. Thank you too to our NRF colleagues, and past and present. We can't name everybody, but thank you very much to Cheryl for coming. Cheryl Yeni, she's at the back. And of course, to the node universities, UCT, but Northwest, and Audrey and Stefan for running NASSP there. UKZN, we're very sorry that Siva couldn't make it to join us here for the past 2 days. And of course, in particular, to all the various support staff at each of the nodes, the people who help us with IT, all the administration, housing, finance, funding officers, everybody at the universities, also the HODs of the different departments who've supported NASSP, and at NASSP partner institutes, the deans, the registrars, and the vice-chancellors. And then a special thanks to Eunice Manju for your very special role you've played and are still playing in NASSP finances. Thank you very much. And then to everybody who has taught or supervised NASSP students over the course of the past 20 years. Your contributions are extremely important, and the whole program could not have run if we hadn't had the expert teaching and supervision from you. And then, of course, that includes all our partners at the associated universities, UWC, with whom UCT has a special relationship, WITS, UP, Rhodes, UJ, UFS, UNISA, and of course our national facilities, SAO, Soreo, Heart RAO, and SANZA. And then finally to everybody, thank you for coming. Thank you to everybody who presented the most amazing talks here today. And thank you extremely, in extreme terms, to our organizing committee, especially Patricia and Roz and Nikki and Nasli. And then finally to our great sound crew and AV crew who've allowed us to broadcast this online and have the very streamlined setup that we've had, and to UCT for the facilities. And then of course to our funders of the event, DSI and Soreo. I hope that I haven't left anybody out, but please know that we really thank everybody. Oh, and our photographer, of course, at the front. Yes, and Sapelo also for helping from it with Avi as well from the UCT side. Thank you. Right.
So, yeah, I think, it's just remarkable, the numbers of people, the numbers of systems. And I just want to read this quote, that came from, so when we tried to set up the bridging program, now one must remember, you're trying to set up something that has never been set up before, and what are the chances they're going to let you set this up, within the university? I mean, some independent system. And so, of course, one has to start in somewhere, and, the person that I started with at that time was the deputy registrar, was Karen van Deurden, and she was amazingly helpful. And so we invited her, and, she's also I think, has she retired? Yes, she's also retired. But she sent this, and I thought this was very insightful. As she said, I can't come, sorry I can't come, but then she said this, okay, now I haven't cleared it with her that I can repeat this, but I'll do that later. So she says, and as I come to the end of my time at UCT, I've been reflecting on things that have happened for the good over the 20 plus years, and this, NASSP, is one of them. I think NASSP is a wonderful case study for achieving meaningful and fundamental change, but it takes time. There are no shortcuts, and you understood that from the start. And I think that is why you are now able to host a symposium focusing on the achievements of the NASSP graduates. And I think that's really powerful to come from somebody, who spent decades at UCT and understood the university. So I think in many ways, and so I just want to say the following. I think I've been very privileged to have been involved, so I have to thank you for that privilege, Patricia and Tebe, but I think that I really think that what I found so amazing and what I'd underestimated is just the amazing students. I do not think that people in South Africa often think about how remarkable a country we could be if everybody's potential was realized to the full. So I think I've been privileged to be part of that group of people that actually managed to overcome the odds, and demonstrated what they could. So I think for me, that was for my own life, I think, I thought that gave meaning to it. And so I think for that, I should be very thankful as well. So, so I think I'll leave the last bit over to you.
Well, just to sum up, I'm really excited for the next 20 years. As we look towards, the Meerkat is running, NASSPs are madly analyzing the data. The SKA is really on the very near horizon now. And I think, we are poised to take advantage, but we need to keep pushing, and we need to keep NASSP going. And we need to better leverage our network, as people have said, and as we've started talking about. Running a program like this requires a lot of hard work from many people, including the students, especially EM, we hear. But I really believe, I think this celebration has really shown that all that hard work has really paid off and is paying off dividends going forward. So thank you very much.